So let's start creating our controllers now. Since we haven't added any Java code to the application yet, I actually don't have a source folder. So let's go ahead and right click on Fitness Tracker and say New Folder and do Source Main Java. Now if yours didn't automatically put it up here as a source folder, then right click on it and say build path, use as source folder. Alright, so now mine's up there with the rest of my source code folders. You can tell by the little icon in the upper right hand corner that it's a source folder. Now let's right click on there and say new class. Now for our class, let's just call this the hello controller. And for our package, let's call it com.pluralsight.controller. We want to put all of our controllers in a controller package. And we don't ever want to use the default package. It just can cause problems long term. Now, the nice thing about Spring is everything is a POJO, so I don't need to implement an interface. I don't need to extend a class. There are some things you can do that have some convenience methods in them, but for our example, this works just fine. So let's go ahead and click Finish. And there's our controller. Now, clearly we have to add a few things to it for it to become useful for us. So let's go ahead and mark it as a controller. So we're going to do @controller. And if I do Control Spacebar at the end of it, it'll automatically do the imports for me. Now let's add a method. And the method can actually be named anything we want. It doesn't necessarily tie to what we're trying to do. It uses the annotation for the request mapping for that. So let's just do a method called public string say hello. And we're going to pass in the model object, Control Spacebar, and that will that'll give us back our model object. And we can close off of our method. Now let's go ahead and say return, let's call it hello. Alright, so we have the basic architecture in place for our controller now, but we're going to do two things here. We're going to add a request mapping, which is how we tie this to the URL. So we want to say request mapping, and then we want to give this request mapping a value, and again just Control Spacebar, value equals, and let's tie this to /greeting. Alright. Now that's what says what our URL is going to be and what method it's going to tie to. So http://localhost 8080 fitness tracker /greeting is going to tie to this page. And we're going to walk through that example, but that's just tying that whole picture together for you. Now the other thing we want to do is we want to shove some things in the model and have that displayed in our UI. So we can say model dot add attribute, and we're going to say greeting, and we can just put in here hello world. And that's all the pieces we need in place from our controller. This is a full functioning complete controller.